There we go. You see my screen okay?
I can indeed.
Yeah, so
yesterday you were looking for the FTSE to rally a little bit to a
yeah,
level. Is that the level, the white line on the screen? I can't remember what the level
I think
was.
it is. I
Maybe it's
mean,
gone a bit beyond that, is it?
no, it won't have gone beyond. It was just that little bit higher, and I am pretty tempted just to get in. Let me just see. The thing is with it is that, and this is the area that I was trying to get in down here, which I didn't quite get there. That was the annoying thing because I can't watch the charts all day, so I have to set alarms, and because the alarm wasn't here, I didn't know about it coming down to this. Not necessarily that I would have taken it anyway, but because that's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. If I've got other things that I need to do, then I want to be aware of the charts. But this was high, that was my highest point that I would have wanted to get in really, and it didn't even touch that point. So it's been a pretty strong move to the upside. But now, I think we are on top of something a lot more interesting. It could be there. It could be there, and I think it's probably more likely somewhere around here because of this level as well.
Yep.
This level here. So I think it's probably more likely there than as high as that. But I can't discard that one because even if we do start to shove up to those at that point, it still kind of looks like an area of resistance when we consider this.
It's a good question, actually, whilst we're there. Where is that level? I can see three possible levels there.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
In a small area.
I think the important thing is to try and get the highest possible point, and
That's the level I would choose.
the one that we're at.
No, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, so actually coming down a little bit lower, somewhere here.
No, I'd move it down again. That would be
Oh,
my
I see,
level.
because of this here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's definitely number one, isn't it? It's definitely level number one.
It's the first level, yes, that's right.
Yeah. And all I'm really waiting on is something just a bit clearer. When we look at all these different charts, this is an hourly chart. I have to go. I haven't really got a lower high yet with the 30, but there is a potential for that to be a trend line, maybe break. That could be the first hint. Yeah, it's probably along there. So I think I'd probably want to at least see this level broken and retested.
Sure.
And then I'd be happy to go short. I think the key with this is that because the FTSE is still, it is in a downtrend, and this is the area this is the area number one for. Actually, it's more like area. It's more like area number two in many respects, because if this is a downtrending market, then this is area number one for the trend to continue, to the downside. But because we don't have we've got the low there, kind of area number one, but this is definitely area number two, and that means area number three. But if we get through area number two, which is quite broad and maybe a little bit subjective, then I think we're probably then starting to move in the opposite direction. But this is still in a downtrend. I think looking at oil is very, very important right now, and oil is now at over $50 a barrel,
which is also the place you're looking for shorts, perhaps.
Absolutely,
absolutely.
Interestingly, it is. Yeah, yeah, and undoubtedly. Let's have a look at this trend line here. What's this one? Yeah, interestingly, it's through there.
But yeah, again, it does seem to skip through. I have to say that myself. I'd agree with that. But it's not closed. Well, the significant candle's not closed for mine. The daily bar's not closed. So
no, and I wonder whether that is even the level, or whether our level is actually more like there. Difficult, isn't it? Because they're all. It's just a little bit scruffy, some of these trend lines. If we take the first 2 points, it doesn't give us a third touch, really clean third touch. This point here, that's probably around about. That's probably the closest to 3 touches we have, which is that little bit higher. But I think that level could be fairly significant. I think the fact that we've got horizontal levels over here is a little bit more significant as well. So you're absolutely right. We'd be looking at oil as well to be weaker here. And interestingly, but you see that the thing is that this could also be, providing something which could pop up again and then pop back down again to give us that inverted head and shoulders, because this looks like a left shoulder, a potential left shoulder area, which means the neckline's that little bit higher. I mean, head and shoulders don't necessarily form, but it's the first thing I always see. Do we have a group? Do we have a lower low? And could we start making, where's that higher low going to be formed? And where would it get to before that higher low is going to be formed? And this is definitely a candidate area, but it could be that little bit higher as well.
Seems to be it's hard to say a nervous rally because all the closes are pretty high, but it doesn't seem to be a very liquid rally.
No. Well,
hard to say.
do you know what? Interestingly, if we took FTSE 100 specifically, the liquidity really did start to come into play a few days ago on this particular bar. And I don't know if I could bring this up and it have too much validity, but we'll see. Let's have a look. It doesn't look like it's going to be accurate enough, unfortunately. Volumes were spiking. In the buy side, the volumes were starting to spike, whereas you can't really see it that well. But this last push to the downside, it did start to kind of drift down a little bit, and then volume started to pick up. But the volume started to really, they've got a little bit higher. This isn't a great example of this because it is a broker rather than is the broker's volumes rather than the overall market volume.
Yeah.
But the powers that be have kind of reported that the rally has been with volume. So I think that there is some confidence out there in the market, which does suggest that we would probably maybe hold or struggle to come down or be in a bit of a danger area if we get in too early. This is the thing with it now. But by the same token, I don't really want to miss it, and I don't think there's any reason for us to miss it. My indicator list. So today I'm basically going to be looking for. I'll tell you what I was going to look at just very, very briefly as well, was the news of the day. Because we were talking about oil, and obviously this stuff may well have an impact. It's usually the other way around, but it might have an impact. There we go. So there's some crude oil inventories as well, so that might have an impact. In fact, it would definitely have an impact on the oil price. So with that happening, maybe we're waiting for the afternoon session before we're looking at anything short with the FTSE 100. But I'm definitely interested in the short side of it.
Did you listen to Trumpy have a chat?
Oh no, what was he saying?
Oh, it was pretty much internal stuff. It was all about the wall, and it was fairly impassioned plea to the Democrats to pass the bill. And of course, then Bernie Sanders got on and said, "You're an idiot. All of the facts that you've just purported to be facts are not facts." And numbers that I don't know if he plucked them out of the air, but how many Mexicans were killing Americans and how many drugs they were bringing in across the border and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, all that sort of stuff. And of course, Bernie Sanders debunked it all instantly. And God knows where we are. We're still in the same style, mate. We're in, and nothing's going to change that.
That is awful, isn't it? I mean, if Donald Trump is using propaganda effectively to get his point across, and
well, so say the other side. I can't say that because I don't know.
Right.
But the figures seem to be rather a stretch for mine.
Yeah.
I'd have to say that.
Yeah.
But without knowledge, it's pretty hard to say. Well, okay, he's an absolute nutcase.
Yeah.
But you're right. You know, the premise is absolutely spot on. You know, how can he use all these people
Yes.
to and false facts to keep them out of work, and you know, it's not good. That's for sure.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's not right, is it?
What that means to the market, I don't know. I don't know. It probably doesn't mean too much at all.
Well, it hasn't done. I mean, this is the thing about the this is the thing about the wall. We'll talk about Brexit later on because there was actually a vote through Parliament yesterday, which was very interesting. So when we're ready to talk about the news a little bit more, we'll
Okay.
discuss it.
Yeah, sorry, I intervened there because I could see Trumpy's speech up there.
No, not at all, mate. No, it's no intervention. I mean, really, at the minute, we're you know, I'm just kind of chewing the fat about what to look for with the FTSE, and you're absolutely, it wasn't an intervention. It was a fair one because I'm trying to think of a catalyst, which is, I guess, why you mentioned it.
Yeah,
Um,
and
and
therefore
I'm
I can't see how it will. To be fair, it's
what come
very
down.
no, sorry, how the Trump speech will even have an
Oh
effect
yeah,
on.
yeah. It doesn't seem to. It doesn't seem to have had. Um, you can't hear my news as well, can you?
No,
Good. Okay. Um,
we'll be taken off the
yeah.
air.
Yeah, yeah, I will be if I start
Wonder
broadcasting
if
this
I
news. But
hummed.
yeah,
Wonder if I hummed "God Save the Queen" would be taken off the air.
well, quite possibly. I don't know. I don't really know how it works, to be honest.
No, I don't know either. I know they're just very mindful of copyright, but which is a good thing. I don't have a problem with that.
No, not at all. Oh, just a quick word on strategy. I want to get rid of this. I can't seem to get rid of my charts thing here. What can I do here? Where's the Where are my charts? Where am I? Get rid of the properties? Is it?
I'm not sure
No.
what you mean by get rid of your chart.
Sorry, not get rid of the charts. Get rid of this indicator.
Oh, that. Yeah, you just right click on it, don't you? On
No, it
put
doesn't seem to have worked.
your mouse on the indicator. No,
There is an indicator list, but I can't find it. Hmm. I'll get rid of it. I don't. Oh, it's charts, surely. No, it's not charts.
don't know. I don't use them.
There's a way to get rid of it. There's an indicator list, which I can't remember. I don't know why. I've not done it for a little while, I guess. I've got my indicators pretty set. Anyway, what's on your radar? Oh yeah, just a quick word on
Yep.
strategy. Quick word on strategy for me is that I would like to get in short and happy to get in short and have shorts really hit it short here, somewhere in this area, hit it short. And if it pops up, hit it short again here. So leave the trade on and hit it short again. So the question is, geez, that's still 100 pips. That's a long way. So I need to get as close to really as close to this area as possible, probably. Yeah, I would hit it short, probably a little bit higher, top end of this bar, maybe a little bit higher, somewhere around about the 6,900 level on the FTSE futures, which is going to be 6960-ish on the FTSE cash. I'd like to hit it short there, and then if it creeps up again, I'd like to hit it short again. And just stay in and see if I can float around a little bit. 100 pips is a little bit too much for me. So anything with a 50 pip range, I'm quite happy to hit it short twice. So I'm going to go in a couple of times, I think, with this one.
Okay, mate. Happy days. I'll talk currency for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'll start with the euro because that's the one yesterday we were talking about. If it looked like something today on the daily chart, then I'd choose to trade it. And I've actually done that because it did look pretty much exactly as I wanted it to look. It's pretty tough to see against the shadow of my range here, but there is a bit of a tail on this one. So we've eaten probably, well, you can see where the stop loss is. It's underneath the tail of that candle. So the candle did eat a fair way into the bull bar, and that's exactly what I was looking for. And the premise here, of course, is that we have broken resistance. We're at resistance again, and that's of a concern, and therefore it's a reduced risk trade. But the premise here is that we have broken the major resistance, and therefore there should be momentum going through this level if price were to come back here. It looks as though it's trying to do that at the moment. What I wouldn't like to see is this bar stall, of course. I just want this to power on. And the way I want that to happen is to have a retracement first, maybe back to the daily pivot, and then get the power on. Hit the boosters, the retro rockets, and away we go. So on the smaller time frames, I'm actually looking for a retracement here rather than join in the daily trade that I have on. If you're interested in following it, my entry level is at 1.1485. I've got a 65 pip stop loss. I'm going to take 2 lots of profit, one at 35 pips. I'm going to close a third of the position. The second at 110 pips, I'm going to close another third of the position. And I'm going to let the rest run to target, which is just under the channel here, and of course under the top of the range at 230 pips. So that's the daily trade that we spoke about yesterday, and the bar did finish pretty much exactly as I wanted it to do. So on the smaller time frames, why am I bullish? I suppose is probably a good question. Look, it's not an absolute fait accompli in any way, shape, or form, because yes, we do have Brexit still hanging over our shoulders. That little bit of a vote in Parliament, I'm interested in hearing, Ash, in a bit as well, as to what that was all about. Maybe this will affect this, maybe it won't. But all I really see is a continuation of higher lows here and higher highs. And I'm thinking that we'll get another higher high here before we go too much further. I do like the fact on the smaller time frames, if we go to the 4-hour chart, I do like the fact that we've had a big bullish engulfing bar down the bottom here, a double bottom and a significant higher low, and we're continuing to get higher lows. I can't really say we're continuing to get higher highs on this chart, but certainly we're getting higher lows, and that's not a bad sign at all either. Yesterday, we were speaking about euro dollar and looking for a trade signal, and we were looking for a lower high here, if you'll recall. And we were also looking at a false break of this, I'll put it in, this trend line that we had coming through here. Actually, the first one was there. And we actually did get that later in the day. Had I placed that order, had I been awake and placed that order, that probably would be going quite well at the moment. But except that, it would have expired. And I'm going back to the rules of my strategy. If after I placed an order on a candle, which would have been this one here, and 6 candles then expire, I would cancel the order and look for another entry. That would have been the case here, but nice that that's actually panned out now to give us a little bit of a, I don't know, boost in the upward direction as well. So a little bit of confidence coming in there. Again, I'd like to see a retracement now off DR1, come back to the top of the range, or indeed the broken trend line, and that would give me a nice little confidence booster as well, thinking that momentum can carry us through here, get us into the trade. I really don't want this candle to take me in. If it does, it does, but this is not the candle I want to take me in. I want a retracement, then another rally, and that would be honky-dory. In terms of trading it today on the intraday charts, not at this point, no. I can't see any way to trade this. If it does come back into this area, different story. In particular, if it got back underneath the trend line and the daily pivot and then retested it, that would be a very interesting and compelling, actually, entry short. So I'll be watching that closely, and I'm just hopeful this candle prior to the open doesn't take us into the trade. Cable
Yes.
was
Now this one is
also
interesting because
okay.
we got news on this one.
Good. Okay, I'll give it my little dose, and then bring the news in it on it in, if you don't mind, mate.
Yeah.
So same thing with the euro. I'm very happy that we're back inside this range. I'm very happy that we're above the monthly pivot and we're above the weekly pivot. I'm very much aware of this big bullish engulfing bar backed up by a very big reversal bar, almost a hammer. And all I'm looking for here is a higher low. And I'd love to see that higher low. I said this yesterday, off the monthly pivot or the weekly pivot. Weekly pivot preferably would be good. But if I saw it off the monthly pivot, I'd be willing to take that long. It was tempting to have a look at this bar as well. But I think I've probably got that covered on the euro if it does go early. So I'm still looking for this higher low on cable to get in long, and I don't mind what time frame that comes on. If it comes on the 4 hour, happy days. If it comes on the hour, the 30-minute, all good. I'll be looking to trade it. What's the news, mate?
Well, yesterday there was a vote in Parliament to stop a no-deal Brexit, and the no-deal Brexit won by probably around about 10 votes. But already it's it's kind of the first defeat, if you like, against Theresa May. So it's it's a bit of a precursor, exactly. So it doesn't bode too well for the vote on the 16th, and we're only a matter of no, I think it's the 15th actually, that vote. So we're only a matter of 6 days away. So I think it's next Tuesday, maybe we got that vote.
My apologies, Ringus.
Oh, that's okay. I mean, he's up on the Brexit news. I don't know what his is on it,
He's
but
not happy.
he's he's not happy about the Brexit situation,
No.
and I concur. So effectively, Theresa May has suffered her first defeat, and that defeat is to do with the No Deal Brexit. Now, that in itself isn't all that newsworthy, except for if her vote doesn't get through, then and the MPs have won the vote to diminish what they voted on was to diminish funding to prepare for no deal Brexit. Now that doesn't mean that we don't get a no deal Brexit, but it just means that the funding won't be there, so they're not allowed to allocate any more funds for those particular preparations, which in some respects sounds very, very irresponsible, because if we are to leave without any terms with the European Union, then it would mean that we could be walking straight into an abyss, which is not too prudent, in my opinion. So
doesn't sound like a good idea from a layman's point of view, I've got to say.
No, it doesn't. I think it's a little bit of a tactical play, in as much that if we are to leave with no deal, without preparation, if we have no preparation for no deal, then what the MPs are trying to do is say to the government, you shouldn't even be considering no deal. So go back and renegotiate, give us that second referendum, or give us the general election. It starts to kind of put those questions really back into the fore. So I guess that's the thinking behind it from MPs. They're just kind of they just kind of force the government's hand into not accepting that could be a potential scenario, because we would be just too unprepared for it. But and again, the significance is that Theresa May has lost her first vote by very few, and there are a few dissenters, and maybe also it starts to show the public which people are likely to go against Theresa May when it comes down to her vote on Tuesday. So her vote is going to be very, very difficult to get through. She's going back to the DUP and trying to convince the DUP that her deal is the best deal that's out there. DUP have been fairly vocal in saying that they will not accept the deal that she is currently proposing. So things are probably looking maybe a little bit more rosy for the pound in that particular respect.
I'm going to say, how does that look in terms of market?
Well, you know, I can't see how Theresa May getting the vote through next week would necessarily be now perceived as a positive because of the dissenters. The dissenters aren't the Brexiteers necessarily. The dissenters are the ones that want to remain in the EU. So if their power starts to increase within Parliament, then the suggestion that we could potentially stay on the same terms as we have now maybe starts to increase a little bit. So you know, I can't see how that would necessarily be perceived as a negative, but it may be. You know, we just don't know. You know, what happens with the vote next week. I think it's going to be quite significant who votes it down rather than whether it's voted down, because certainly right at this stage, it appears that it would be voted down. But you know, as we've always said, Theresa May is somewhat of a magician when it comes down to a lot of this stuff, and you know, maybe her luck is finally caught up with her, or maybe she's just got
This
one more rabbit in the hat. I don't know.
it's sounding like it needs to be a Houdini one, this one, but we'll see.
Yeah, yeah, but then you know, I think that was the case. I think that was the case previously anyway. You know that her whole tenure's been a little bit like that, hasn't it? And she's certainly managed to survive. You know, many times.
Yeah, I think the thing, just from a market point of view, is this is a rare opportunity, and it's really tough to time this one. It really is,
Yeah,
because if we wait till a result, if we wait till the final countdown, the final straw, we probably missed the boat. You know, once the news is out, that's
yeah,
it. There'll be a massive move, and it'll be very, very difficult to get into it.
yeah,
So it's really tempting to get into the market at the moment, and hope you're on the right side of it.
yeah.
The trick, of course, is timing. Where's your stop going to be? You know, all of those things. How much risk are you prepared to put on the table?
That's the thing.
And if you
Yeah,
do put risk on the table, is that the risk that you're actually going to be condemned to, if you like,
yeah.
if you're in the wrong position? Because it could go, a long way quickly,
I
and
like your
therefore.
line there. I like your line. I like that line that you've drawn there. I mean, do you know the way that I would like to play the pound? This would be my particular stance on it,
Mhm.
because I wouldn't want to get out of this one. I would want to try and stay in. So I'll just grab the screen back. If we go back to a clean chart, just so I can look at this on the dailies.
That is my want, of course, is to get in and stay in.
Yeah, and I think the way to play it would be try and decipher which point the market actually changes again, and that's that's a tricky challenge because the chart's a bit of a mess. When there's not many clean lines that we can really we can draw here. That was probably the best so far, but even it got kind of scruffy round there, then it popped through, managed to create this lovely hammer here. I don't know why. I wasn't comfortable getting in here after seeing that hammer, but I think because it was such a strange market, the year had just started, and there was maybe a lack of liquidity. It was
Oh, and that was
just
that weird day as well, wasn't
it
it?
was strange, yeah. And
Yeah.
as as you saying about stops, if you're a longer term trader, then your stops are a long way down,
Yep.
200 pips or so. So that would be my preference. But what I'd quite like to see is if the pound can just drift down just a little bit more, maybe back to the high of this bar, maybe just somewhere along these lines here, because there's that
Yep.
area of support
Mm.
there. So I'd like to see whether we could just come back into. In fact, it looks like yes, they didn't quite get down, but just a little bit lower. Try and take a trade, but hedge it. Because if it's going to come down, as you say, it's probably going to come down a long way. I mean, you're going to have to be pretty good at, and pretty nimble with the hedge. But I'd like to hedge it because I don't see why you would want to get out of the long.
Mm. I
You
don't.
know, you just have a complete balance, have complete balance in the market, and let the market kind of decipher what's going on. And if it starts to shoot to the upside, figure out what the gap is and take the short off the market, as soon as it comes back a little bit, but stay with the long, ride the long as long as it will go up. That would be my particular preference. Market is just opened.
I'll put a bit more thought into it, but yeah, look, you're of the same opinion. A little bit of retracement here has got to be good. Are you close to an entry?
Potentially, yeah, I would. I mean, I'm looking to enter in this area for sure. So I am just looking to see what I need to see. Let me just have a quick look at this 15. Just want to have a look at the 15-minute chart here and see if there's anything clear. Nothing there. The 5 is causing a bit of an issue for me. The 5 is suggesting that it could hang on. The line is looking like somewhere along there, which means that we've probably got a pop up first. Yeah, you know what? I think I'm looking for a short, and I'm going to go short at 68.64 on the futures, which is going to be something around 69.26. So in around about 12 pips time, if it pops up to this level, then I'm going to take the short on and see what happens with that. So let me quickly post that in. I'll give you the screen back just while I prepare this.
Good as gold. I'll move on to another couple of currencies and have a look. I'll have a quick look at the. Let me see if I can take the screen. Or are you giving it to me?
I've given you the screen. Yep. Have I given you? There you go.
Are we good?
Yep.
Okay. Look, I've got a great candle, to be fair, on the euro. That's exactly what I was looking for, retracement. Not necessarily in one bar, but I didn't want to be taken in with this bar, and that was the preference. So now we've got a few options available to us, in particular on a 30-day chart. If this were now to sneak underneath the trend line, the broken trend line, and indeed the daily pivot, then retest that area. Perfect. There'd be a short on for sure. If, however, that doesn't happen, then we've got the long covered above this bar. I think if there's acceleration through here, it should take out these highs, in my opinion, and we should be A-OK. So that's exactly what I was looking for on the euro, but it may provide opportunities to the short side on the shorter time frames. Let me have a look at the cable. Not really particularly interested in trading cable on a 30-minute chart, to be fair. And there's a good reason why. Have a look at that. Every single candle today has touched the daily pivot. Sorry, not every. This is the 30-minute chart I'm talking about. This one didn't, and this one didn't, but only just. So that's telling me everything I need to know. Price has got absolutely no idea where it wants to go at this point. Interestingly, yesterday it wasn't far from the same. There were a few mini moves, but a lot of them false, and a little bit of a sell-off towards. Well, that probably is around about US Open, and then it went straight back into consolidation, and here we are on the daily pivot and not leaving it anytime soon, it would appear. So it's going to be very, very tough to trade that until we do get away from this area. Guesswork otherwise, in my opinion. Now, the Aussie I'm bullish on, and not doing me any favours in this particular area. I need to pull back away from here. Similar to what's happening with cable, and we're just stuck with the pivots. We're monthly pivot, daily pivot bound. I need to get out of here. Get out of this zone, be traced back to I don't know where, to be fair, because the chart's not doing me any favors at all. I can't see anything that really suits me. Looking and looking and looking, and it just escapes me. I can't see anything that I like here in terms of a trend line. There's probably potentially going to be one through here, but gee, there's a big gap between tests, and that's what I don't like. So I'm going to have to crawl down into the 30-minute charts to find any semblance of a trade. Maybe there's a bit of a swing here, and I do emphasize bit of a swing. It's hardly that, but let's have a look and see what it looks like on the 30-minute chart. That's the area I was talking about. and maybe there is a bit of a trend line going up through here. That's telling me short. In fact, there's probably an order there short. Don't know if I'm willing to take that. That'll be one of your evening stars there, mate. And yeah, it looks kind of interesting, but
yeah, that is an evening star right there, isn't it?
Again, the reward to risk is not great. And, you know, is it going to go through the daily pivot if we do go short? Poor. Look where it's just spent so much time in this area. Why are we going to clear it now is the question. False break. Yes, I can see it. You know, why are we going to get out of here now? I don't know. What's the reason? What's going to drive it?
Yeah, that's difficult, isn't it? Maybe,
so,
maybe just the fact that we come.
You go.
Well, maybe just the fact we come so far. You know, it's tricky to know that, isn't it? I mean, in a way, that's really what I'm looking at with a FTSE. They're very, very similar. The FTSE might well go without me again here.
Yeah, there is a trade, but yeah, I think I need to be. No, I just can't talk myself into it. I really can't. I can absolutely see the daily pivot test again, but can I really see this going down to this level? And the answer is not yet for me on the Aussie, apart from the fact that I've got a bullish outlook as well. So, you know, all of those things combined. So the FTSE has started to drift to the south side without you, mate.
Yes, it has. Yes, it has. I mean, it's the first bar of the morning, so it doesn't you know, this this is the issue, and this is the some of the issues that I've had right the way through this move is that the market has just hit a level and reversed with pretty much without notice. The only thing I can do is wait. I don't really have any other options. That the annoying thing is that's quite a nice run, even from that point. Yeah, it's quite a nice run. 50 pips is a pretty good run, and that's potentially where it could come to before I get any kind of bounce, which is going to leave me here. But you know, first 5 minutes of trading, and we get the formation of this bar and then this bar. So I don't think I'm going to get the opportunity on this particular run, but we may. I've just got to wait it out and see. Price will have to change now, and maybe even the chart that I look at will also have to change on this one. Let's just have a look at what this line is here. It looks like a level there. Yeah, that's the level. That's probably the level it could do with breaking anyway. But actually, it's pretty nice. That's a nice 5-minute bar. This bar is very, very interesting. What's going on here? If this could just hold on and just give me a little bit of upside, then I can actually look to try and go short in an area that I want it. You know, somewhere around about here would be great. Which is still another 10-15 pips away from where we are. So yeah, I'm happy to take this one on, but just not quite yet. I don't really have a catalyst.
We sound very similar, don't we? We're saying the same thing.
Yeah, I can't justify just getting into the market because I'm going to hit this a couple of times. It's another reason that I don't want to get in while the market's really kind of moving in the direction I want it. I want it to come away from the direction I want it, and if it can do that and hit a proper level, then I can actually get on board with a with a bit of with a potential level, you know, rather than sort of like trying to hit it with the momentum going in the direction that I want it. So I wanted to come up here and rest a little bit just so I can just so I can just curve it out and then see if the momentum will carry me and ride it while it's moving. But it's going to be a little bit tricky. It's taken out some lows already. Looks like those bears have got itchy fingers and they just want to kind of get in and sell this one off. Just got to wait it out, mate. Got to wait it out and see what happens.
I'm exactly the same. I'm seeing little hints, but I'm not seeing, defined moves. I'm not seeing the market say, okay, and the market, if you listen and prepared to wait, it will tell you eventually. It'll say, all right, now's the time. And if it's not saying that, then they're the ones that you can get, but gee whiz, they're also the ones that you miss very, very often. Not worth it.
Yeah, so, yeah, absolutely.
I'll be hanging in here, although it's very tempting on the Aussie to go short right now. And if the daily pivot wasn't in the way, maybe I'd do that. But no, I'm just going to hang in here and wait a little bit on the Aussie as well. You want me to go through a few more?
Yeah. Go for it. Just while I wait on this.
Sure. Give me a whistle. Well, just take it if you need it. Simple as that. Okie dokie. So yeah, there's the Aussie. If you really need to trade right now, and you've got a penchant for a short on the Aussie, then there it is. It's right there underneath that bar. I'm going to wait personally and see if I can find something a little bit more suitable. I'm really not liking what price is doing. It's really a mixed bag here where we're in a very tight range. We've burst through that range, but really where are the big candles? Where are the moves that are significant? There's one, and that's probably just about it. So I'll wait and see if I can find something a little bit better. We spoke a lot last night about the yen and the strength of same, and how, pardon me, all of these crosses against the yen early in the week, or even into or since the big crazy move last week, had rallied against the yen, and I think everyone was of the opinion that the yen was going to remain strong, and these were nice retracements to look for a short. I don't know that I'm that convinced of that particular scenario. You can see this pink line down here. If I go a little bit wider into the daily chart, you can see the significance of that. And if I go a little bit wider still, you can see how reliable this has been. And every time we get out of here, it's false. And I don't see why this one's any different, to be fair. So on a technical level, what I do see is an upside to at least here. And that's still, 140 odd pips away on a daily chart. So I'm still of the opinion that there's a little bit of upside here, maybe even up to here, but I'm not willing to take that on at the moment. But what I am willing to do is have a look at the smaller time frames and see if I can find a long. It's not sitting there, I'd have to say, on the 4-hour chart at this point. At least I don't think it is. Let me go a little bit tighter. There was something down here, but it's not there yet. And there's really nothing there either. So I'm going to have to bide my time on the 4-hour chart as well if I am looking for long on that. The 30-minute chart. Yeah, that's a bit different. And we've had a break and retest of this line here. And that's very interesting for me. I've got enough to take profit here. I think I'm interested in this one. In fact, I know I'm interested in this one. Okay, we're going to place a small trade here on pound yen long on the 30-minute chart. And let's do that because it's the pound, we are going to keep our risk very, very tight. So we'll keep this we'll even go less than that. We'll go quarter of a lot. I don't know why I do that, because it's going to disappear as soon as I do this. It is a buy stop, and the entry is going to be at, what's the cross pound yen? We'll go in at 138.90 even, 138.90. And our stop loss will be, I think we'll be a little bit prudent, and we'll go underneath the daily pivot, which might make this a little bit too big a trade.
So I've got a question on that. When you're able to concentrate, I've got a quick question on that.
Sure.
The current bar is
54.
Oh, sorry, mate. Yeah, when you're ready.
No, you go. I can listen.
Well, is the current bar a 30-minute bar you're looking at? Is that a 30-minute chart?
Yes, it is.
So with a breakdown, does the high of the current bar, because it takes us back above the trend line, does that not become a valid area for a trade?
Sorry, go again, mate.
The bar that we've got forming at the minute is currently under the trend line. So if it was to go back above, and the high of that bar is above the trend line. So because of that, does that not become a valid area?
Look, in some ways it does, but in that way, no, it doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah, gotcha.
Because I'm trading straight into that horizontal level.
Yeah.
The significance of where I am entering, which is here for mine, is that we're above this high.
Yeah.
And therefore, if we break that again, I think we should find a little bit of momentum. So that's the reason I would enter there rather than here.
Yeah. Yeah. I see that.
Okay, we've got a stop loss of 26 pips. That's okay. We can go with that. And we will place the order. All right, so let's put our lines in. We've got an entry there. Oh, let's get that right. Why isn't that coming in? Go away. There we go. That's what I want. 138.90. Okie dokie. That's our entry. Our stop is, where did I put our stop? 64, did I say? Daily pivot. Level of the daily pivot is at 55. So we're going one under that, 54. That can't be right. Why won't it give me the daily pivot level, mate? There it is. Okay, 138.52.93. The 138.52 that becomes, I've got that wrong. Hate that. Okay. So guys, make the stop 138.52 instead of where I said 138.65, I think I said. So the stop loss is 138.52. We're going to take profit right about there, which is 139.03. That'll be our first take profit level. That's about 13 pips. So there's our first take profit. Our second take profit, we'll do this in 3 stages, will be there at 139.31. Let's call it 139.30, shall we? One pip won't make a lot of difference at that point. And then we'll just let the rest run. So three positions on this one. One there, and the rest will take a bit of a squawk at. That's the reason, because there's two levels here: the monthly pivot's one, and the top of the what's this called, this thing channel is another. So look, we might just trail this up here if we can get a good go at this. Might be interesting. I don't mind it. It's okay. So it's a 30-minute trade on pound yen.
Brilliant, mate. Brilliant.
Well, how are you going?
I'm going okay. I think I might do the same and put this in, actually, put the order in. So let's have a look at the FTSE now. I'm going to do it on this chart first, and then I'll take everybody through. Let's go in at 58 and see what that looks like. Yeah, that's going to be there. Okay, so let's do this on the FTSE cash as well for everybody. No, that's futures. I don't want futures. I want this one. Right, bring this over here. So I'm going to go in kind of light, and I'm going to put this in for a sell limit, and this is going to be at 69.25, and I will just see if I can correct that. And I'll have a look at stops in a moment. And I need to just see what the 15 gives me here. Right, already that level is going to have to come down to 20. 69.20. Yeah, so I've come in. The order is actually going to be at 69.20. So there's a sell stop there at 69.20. So we'll see what happens, see if the market can just pop up for us just one time to get us into that. Volatility may just take us away from this trade, but that's all we can do, right?
That's all you can do, mate. Absolutely. Look, it's perfectly valid, so why not do it?
Yep.
If it was iffy, like we were talking about before, then you don't do it. But the right parameters are in there, so go for it.
Yeah, well, the thing is, the shorter that gets, the further away it gets from those initial highs, and obviously I want to get as close to those initial highs as possible. So as I said before, getting in here would not be the best course of action, in my opinion. Do you know the other thing with this is that there are other aspects, and it's only a 5-minute chart, but when I look at this on a 5-minute chart here, this RSI down here is in oversold territory with divergence. When I kind of look at this and this price here, price has popped down, but the momentum's popped up. So this is another reason that getting in here would be just too dangerous. It would be a little bit a little bit foolhardy. I'd like to see this unwind a little bit back to the upside, and then see if we can get the drop. So as I say, it's only a 5-minute chart, so not quite as relevant. But actually, as we sit right now, we've only got 1 bar formed on the 15, but 4 bars and about to have the 5th bar formed on the 5. So as information goes, the 5-minute chart is really the only one that we have. So yeah, just gotta hope that there's enough buying. I can see why they would maybe pop it up from this point. It may come a little bit lower before popping forward, but that's okay. As long as we get a decent enough bounce, then we're all right here. But the other aspect of this is that when we look at the dailies, there's actually quite a lot of time. If it ends up that we get some sort of daily reversal bar here instead, and the market doesn't break the lows of today, then that's okay, because it just becomes a signal, a signal bar rather than an actual trigger bar. But what I'm really looking for is today for this actually to create a trigger and for us to drift down. But this could be stopped at any one point. It could even stop here, and then pop back forward again. But that's just it's just a fair distance down, and I'll be quite happy to maybe even take profit down there if I could. So hopefully we get the pop back up again. But I'd prefer to be hoping that I get my entry at the price than hoping that the market comes back to a point that frees me up from a bad entry, if you see what I mean. So I don't see the benefit of just diving in. I think we've got to let this one unfold and see what happens. And it's kind of maybe human nature to feel like you've missed it.
Yes.
And the other thing about it is that if this one has been missed, I hate missing trades, obviously, but there will still be an opportunity, on this market at some point. This one was a missed opportunity, but maybe there's one that we grab here. So we've only had to wait a few days before another opportunity has potentially appeared. So if it doesn't happen today, then I'm quite happy to just sit on it and see what happens over the course of the next few days. And interestingly, yeah.
And the overall perspective really was you're looking for the short to get you to a strategic place to take a long, aren't you?
The other way around.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was looking for a long up here, just to
short,
try and get me in here, yeah, to go short. Because the way I see this is that the FTSE does it does like bottoming patterns and topping patterns, and it does tend to kind of give you those patterns. Now, whether they're that clean or not is another question. But this really does need to come back to form that bottoming pattern. So I do see the short option as a decent potential, and that move down there is over 100 pips. So if it does kind of like come down here and find some sort of shelf along here, then it's going to be a decent run to the downside. So even though this market may well start to look into going long during February or something like that, then I think some downside is probably maybe not due, but I think it's coming. And even though we've got these trade war negotiations back on the table, we got Jerome Powell, potentially, talking about rate cuts. That's the way the market certainly heard it anyway. Then there is that little bit of confidence, but none of those things are solid. That's not solid data, and that's not solid news. We don't have really too much to go on that front. So I think actually waiting for the actual news to come out is probably the prudent thing to do.
Do you think the FTSE is a barometer of risk on, risk off?
Yes, absolutely.
So where are we?
Well, this is an interesting question actually, because you're talking about the Aussie, and we're talking about WTI.
Yes,
I think
and the yen in particular.
And the yen in particular. Well, the yen probably is a bigger brother in that front, in that factor, because obviously the yen is covered by the world, whereas the FTSE is only covered by the UK. So it probably is a barometer for something, but I don't think you would trade the yen if the FTSE was going down. I think you would probably do it in the opposite direction. If the yen was strengthening, then that would suggest that that global conditions are weakening. So so to look for shorts in the FTSE would be wise. So the yen becomes the barometer for the FTSE, but the FTSE would be a barometer more for the smaller cousins, which would probably be then come down to the stocks. Things like stocks, things like the FTSE 350, things like the FTSE 250, maybe, even though they're a little bit more internal. That's where you would use it, but I don't think you would use it as a barometer for the rest of the world necessarily, even though when I discussed the FTSE with the guy that was teaching me about these markets, and I said to him, you know, the US seems to lead the UK. He seemed to think it was the other way round. So you know, the FTSE is very
Interesting.
much yeah, absolutely. So in some respects, it could be the case that it leads some of the other markets, but I suspect that things probably change hands quite a lot when it comes down to barometers. And maybe when he was talking, that was the case, but maybe now it's less. Maybe it's less prevalent, particularly with how the pound has gone. Um, yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it, with barometers, because they are a little bit like seasonals, where you use them to back up what you've seen, and you use them to back up really what the overall sentiment is in the market at the time. I'm not talking sentiment cycle. I'm talking about the fundamentals, and
The day
and the
by day thing.
geopolitics. Yeah, because that's the real key. You know, the fundamentals and the geopolitical aspects of the world are the real indicators of the directions of the market, and everything else is just a handy tool to back up what you're generally sort of like feeling and seeing. You know, if we have you know, bearish sentiment on the markets, and the sentiment cycle agrees with it, and the seasonals agree with it, then you would probably go down in that order, and you would be much happier to trade something which is a weaker signal in that particular direction. So so yeah, I think we have to put things in the right order, you know, and certainly, you know, what happens on a day-to-day basis is much more important than whether seasonally the FTSE is weak at this particular time of year, which it is. You know, it is seasonally weaker at this time of year, so that helps. Um, and that would certainly encourage me to look for a short and hit it again if it goes up a little bit, rather than being too concerned that I'm on the wrong way, and putting a stop in the market.
Yep, cool. We've been triggered into the pound yen, so we're in the market
Oh,
on
well done.
pound yen at the moment. This
Oh,
happened very
that was
quickly.
quick.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Hasn't followed through as yet, but hopefully that's going to be the case. And we're just around about entry at the moment.
Yeah. So the yen is weakening against the pound. Is it? How is it against the other currencies? That's a really interesting chart. That.
Yeah, that was part of the reason that I asked the question. I seem to be the only person that is certainly in our group that is looking for a retracement on the yen at the moment, and that's part of what this trade's all about.
Yeah.
But yeah, the yen's still strong against the other currencies at the moment. But when I say that, you know, there's not a whole lot going on, to be fair.
Yeah, and the thing is, I suppose we are looking at the pound in isolation to a degree as well, aren't we?
Yeah, very much so. I'm bullish the pound, and for that reason, I'm looking for a reason to take advantage of that if it actually crops up. So again, you know, this is another reason for that, and I'm happy happy that we can do that. I said last night in the evening show that I think there's still opportunities on the pound, and I know, you know, it goes into high risk mode if it's not already. Certainly next week with the vote, but I still think there's opportunities, you know, intraday to trade and to take a little bit out of the pound at the moment. So yeah, I'm just looking for little opportunities. I think this may be one of them. We'll see.
Yeah. I quite like the pound yen as a chart as well. I think it's not quite the same as some of these others. You know, it's not quite as messy as some of these other ones. But actually, we've had quite nice moves here, haven't we, to the downside with the pound yen on a daily, and it's been very aggressive as well. So I think popping up and testing this line up here would be more than achievable.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping so. At the moment, it's not looking like that, but you know, momentum's a big thing. The last two bull bars have been fairly good. I don't see any reason why it can't have a test of a decent resistance level.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, it is a bit of a wait and see, isn't it, mate? I think you know, the market has opened up at a technical level. Certainly, the FTSE 100 has opened up at a technical level, and it has behaved to that technical level actually quite significantly, a lot more significantly than I just probably gave it credit for. Let me just have a look at something here. Now, where was this? Oh no, that's okay actually. Yeah, it's actually, this move is becoming fairly aggressive now.
Mm.
You know, we're starting to get some real momentum kicking in here. If this is going to come back up, it is from this level. So if we're going to get any hope of an entry, it's going to be from this level. And any kind of bounce that's going to come into play here has got to come in from here. Interestingly, we have the minutes from that Jerome Powell's speech later on today, and I wonder whether that may well be some of the catalyst. You know, whether people are waiting to see what the actual facts of the meeting are before they are committed to continuing this rally.
Yeah, there's when I read the statement, you know, what was it, 4 weeks ago, I suppose, something like that, 3 or 4 weeks ago. I thought it was very benign, and I didn't see why the market would react to it, because everything that we expected was pretty much said. We got the rise, we got, okay, that's probably it for now, and really nothing more than that.
Yeah.
So it will be interesting to see exactly what the nitty gritty of that meeting was.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't see more pain. Oh, hold on a second. What's this? More pain from trade war. I don't know whether that's. I might have. I've just got a little scrolling news feed here, which is saying stocks advance on renewed trade hope. Oil climbs. We know that. Okay, that's just a market wrap. I'm just going to check oil again. See how that's behaving. And I'll also have a quick look at the yeah, you see there's a sell signal coming in on oil there.
Yeah, it's at resistance. There's no doubt about that.
Mm.
And, you know, the 50 level is significant, of course. So you would be expecting some form of retracement there, I would have thought.
Yeah, so oil potentially retracing is going to dampen the move to the upside as well with the FTSE, which is going to be good. I'm just going to check the heat map out and see what kind of
Haven't seen the
support
heat
this.
map so far this year.
No,
I like
well, I think really experimenting with the right way to use this heat map is the correct thing. I was putting a little bit too much weight on it, so I just wanted to just come away from it just a little bit and just do a little bit more work on the best way to analyze it. And actually, this is interesting. Right, let me just make sure that this is live. I will bring it in. Stream delay prices, no, stream live prices are what I want. There we go. Indices. There we go. Doesn't seem to be playing ball. Right, I'm just seeing if I can actually get this heat map to give me a genuine read here. All I've got right now is a delayed heat map, which is no good. Oh no, I don't want that. Right, let's see if we can get the FTSE 100 heat map. I've got a bit of a problem. So let me show you what I've got with the heat map. The heat map is currently delayed, which is I'm not quite sure why, and I'll show you my my confusion in a moment. But it's delayed by 15 minutes, so that you know it's still showing really what the market opened up like, and actually it doesn't look all that rough. You know, when you kind of look at so I've got stream live prices, but for some reason I can't take this one off. And this is the indices, but I'm not really looking at the indices. I'm looking at the shares, each share, and when I save and close, it doesn't change it. So I'm not sure why that's not doing that. But still, you know, a 15-minute delay doesn't really matter, because what it's showing me is that the first 15 minutes or the first two 15-minute areas aren't that bearish. You know, if we go to like percent change, there's much more blue here than there is red, which means that the buying is still, you know, fairly is still fairly positive. Now I'm a little bit concerned that this. I know what I'll do. I know what I'll do. I'll get a better heat map than this. Right, let's bring this one in instead. I've got something a lot more accurate. Right, this is what we want here. The lists. Now this will be delayed, but at least I can trust the at least I can actually trust it. So yeah, this is much more accurate. So the downside is significantly higher. 64% of shares in the FTSE 100 are down. Not selling particularly aggressively, but they are down. And just looking through these, what I'd like to see is what the oils look like. Where's my oil? This one. It may well be that it's slightly higher. Yeah, it's slightly higher, but we are still seeing.
I've just taken profit on pound yen, mate.
Oh, that was quick.
Yeah, that's good old slingshot stuff.
My goodness, that was quick. Full profit?
No. That's only the first one. There's three
Beautiful.
parts to this one.
My goodness. Okay. Yeah, I like 3 parts. I like it. All right. Well, while we're just waiting on this to do what I need it to do, should we have a quick look at that?
Sure. Okay. Are you passing it to me?
I certainly am.
Let me know when we're on.
You are on.
Okay, so the obvious first take profit level was at DR1, and we've done that. So we're taking the third off here. Look, I'm inclined to leave the stop loss exactly where it is. So the very worst thing that can happen here is we'll lose 1/3 of the position, which was very small in the first place. So I'm more than happy to leave the stop loss where it is and let this go. So TP2 is at 139.30. If we get to there, obviously we're in a no lose situation, and I will still leave. Will I? No, I'll probably move stops to entry if we get to that level. So I'll take TP2 at 139.30, and I'll move stops to entry at that point, which is here. Okay. Nothing more to do on that one.
That's really good. So you go in, you hit this one 3 times, do you?
Well, my initial position is divided into three. So
Yeah.
we've got our first take profit, we've got our second take profit, and we're just going to trail it up after then, up to here, or into this vicinity. And if we get to there, that turns out to be a nice trade. So that's kind of where I'm at in 2019, and I think that's quite okay, because after TP2, which would have been really my target in a past world, I think we're just going to allow the market to, and it would depend, of course, entirely on what I'm seeing. And what I saw here in the first place was this area here. And if price gets up to here in a month's time, as it can do, I'll say to myself, well, why didn't I stay in that?
Yeah, well, I was going to say, I mean, given the situation with the pound. Sorry, I was going to say, given the situation with the pound, would that not be a desirable place to be? If you've got the trade safe already, wouldn't you just want to let it run and see if it actually just you were the one person in the world that managed to kind of get on with the pound early and stay with it
against the yen anyway? Everyone's telling me that the yen's, don't trade long against the yen, and look, that's perfectly fine, and there's sound reason for that. But I always have to look at what I've got technically, and what I've got technically is the possibility. It's certainly, as I said before, it's by no means a fait accompli that we're going there. But if there's a chance that we can, and if I can do it for free, then, well, happy days.
But wouldn't the pound, if it's going to go, wouldn't it go against all of them? Because if it's all about Brexit, and whatever happens with Brexit actually promotes the move with the pound, then isn't it going to? It's not going to care whether the yen is.
It won't matter what the secondary currency is. Won't give a hoot.
Yeah,
it'll just go because it's so cheap. On a worldwide scale.
Yes,
and but again, there may be 13 attempts to actually get into this market before next week. And this was just one of them, and it's not home yet by any stretch. But we're at very, very small risk right now, and the reward could be good.
I mean, in saying all that, have you looked at the euro? Do you ever look at the euro pound?
Look, it's on my chart, but I haven't really got a handle for it, and especially through this Brexit scenario. I've never looked at it before, but especially through this Brexit scenario, I'm trying to work it out. I'm trying to get a handle for, okay, what happens if X happens and if Y happens? What will the euro do against the pound? Which will be the victor here through all of this bullshit that's been going on for 2 years? And I really haven't got yet a firm conclusion on that. And I know that there are good judges that are saying that X will produce a euro pound sell and Y will produce a euro pound buy. But I can't get it in my head yet as to why that may be. You might be able to help there because you're a far more student of the game than I am.
Well, do you know, I don't. That would confound me somewhat as well. But the only thing that I would say about this particular currency pair is that I think it looks like quite an interesting technical pattern, because we have got on the dailies, we've got this price action kind of floating around up here. I was looking at this level yesterday. I quite like the little shelf here that we possibly have, and that little bit of weakness. But the most interesting thing for me here is the way that the indicator and the momentum is just unwinding to the downside.
And this does.
Yeah, and it does suggest, when I see that, it does suggest that that unwinding would actually cause some significant moves. So the way it is looking technically, it appears at least that there could well be some confidence coming back in with the pound against the euro. So that's why I mention it.
Mm.
Now the FTSE's popping up here, not quite significantly enough, but this is quite a nice bar for a potential bit of retracement on this, and it might be that I'm going to end up moving this just a little lower to try and get it on board. But it's getting back. At least it's trying to get back to the upside for a small run. There's a little 5-minute 5-minute area that may hold this up again, but I'm not prepared to get in just on a 5-minute entry when we're so close to this point here. Still need it up there, but at least it's attempting. So we might have some joy, mate. Might have some joy with this.
Happy days. Hopefully we'll have double joy, mate. That'd be a nice way.
Well,
go into hump day.
That's what we're here for, right? Now I'm going to check to see whether there are any questions in the box or any comments in the box. If I can, where's the live one today? There we go. Because really, if there's not, our how you doing, Pedro? Pedro was just saying my chart is not displayed. That was a while ago. I'm hoping it is now. There's no real questions in the box, and obviously our premise for the show is that we go till 9 or we take a trade. Now you've done that, and you've also taken profit, and I've got a trade sitting waiting for me in the market.
Yep.
So I suppose we can pretty much wrap up unless anybody's got any. Yeah, if anybody's got any questions, obviously we will stick around. But if there's no questions, I think we have probably hit our remit for the day, haven't we?
Sounds good to me, mate. I'm good to go. I've got nothing else that I'm looking to trade at the moment. The only thing is the euro on the daily chart. We all know about that one. If not, then I guess I should repeat that one before we do go.
Yep.
Should I take the screen? I'll take the screen.
You take the screen. I'll tell you if this FTSE gets triggered.
Okay, so the euro US dollar trade, which is on a daily chart, just repeating, the entry level is at 1.1485. The stop loss is 65 pips. I've got a first take profit level at 35 pips. I'm going to close a third of the trade. I've got a second take profit level at 110 pips. I'm going to close another third of the trade, and I'm going to exit the trade at 230 pips. Now, I'll say this because I didn't say it on Monday. And I'll have plenty of opportunities to do this, of course, if 6 candles go by and this hasn't triggered, cancel the order, okay? Do not hang around here for longer than 6 days because that would be folly. I will cancel this well before then, I would imagine. I won't hold on to this over the weekend, I don't think, because there's a chance that there will be some preemptive moves on Brexit, and I don't want to be involved in that. So we'll hang on to this till Friday and probably cancel it if it hasn't triggered at that point. So, mate, that is pretty much it. Pound yen's hanging around that TP1 level, and hopefully we can get to TP2 and see a nice little run. That'd be good.
That'd be great. I don't see too much out in front of us when it comes down to news. We've got the Bank of Canada monetary policy statement later on, which may be of interest to some people. Crude oil inventories, but the big news for me today, and I'll bring this back on again so we can see. The big news of the day that everybody needs to be aware of is this down here. FOMC minutes. Now it is currently coming up to 9 o'clock UK time. So this is a whole 10 hours away, which means there's going to be a lot of trading between here and there. But watch out for this statement, because this may well move the market one way or the other. Now, if you manage to get in to the FTSE, which we're not quite in yet, but we're not too far away. But if we do manage to get into this FTSE 100 trade, and it moves in our direction and starts moving to the downside, my advice would be to put your stops at break even. Let the market run. We got quite a nice long target down here, really, because we're looking really for it to come down and make this right shoulder. So that's the target all the way down there. So it's around about 120 pips or something. So we're just going to hold on as long as we can. But the only way we can hold on as long as we can while remaining safe is to try and get the stop loss in place on entry or near entry. So let's wait for the well, let's wait to get entered first, but let's wait for that news and see what happens. Now, if this market pops up, everybody's going to have their own preference on this. Stops obviously are going to be around about 25 to 30 pips away from entry. If that's your preference, that's not the way I'm going to play it. But if you prefer to get out of the market, then that's the area. The seven pips just above this high here is the area to get out of this again. If you're going to trade it the way I trade it, then you're going to have to wait for an update tomorrow, because it's very, very involved. So we will see what happens, mate. But so far, it's looking towards giving me the entry that I need.
Yes, looking that way.
This is the slight problem, and the slight problem is that this is now starting to create something that looks like a hammer. I'm not treating it as a hammer. I think I'll treat it more as a hanging man than a hammer, because of where it lies within the run.
I'm going to say, just to emphasize my point of view on a hammer, it needs to be at the bottom of something that's really not at the bottom of something, is it?
No, and it does start to look more like a hanging man. When you see that, this very much looks like a head and a pair of legs down here. So I'm not too concerned. But don't get me wrong. The market has been bullish enough to continue to the upside, and if it does that, then, as I say, everybody's got to pick their own preference, and many people's preference will be just get out. But I won't be doing that. I'm gonna wait and see what happens with this particular market.
Happy days. Let's do it again tomorrow.
Yeah. All right, buddy. Have a great rest of the day, and I will speak to you tomorrow. And rather than saying same bat time, same bat channel, I guess we should go same trade time, same trade channel, right?
Sounds all right to me. I'll go with that.
All right, great. All right, have a good one.
As long as it doesn't break any copyright situation, we're fine.
Yeah, we'll have to check on that. We'll be banned in another country. You know it.
Have a good one, mate.
Have a good one. See you soon, guys.